selection that's taking place in county and sub-county schools. John Wanyama is standing by for us live from Uasin Gishu County this morning. And good morning, Wanyama. Has selection started?
A very good morning back to you in the studio, Anne. And here in Uasin Gishu, where I'm standing, I'm at Moi Girls High School, where Form 1 selection has already begun just a few minutes ago. But from now, they are also waiting for Education PS, Dr. Bellion Kipsang, just to come in also to share a few things with them and also to launch officially this Form 1 selection. And here we are going to witness 4 counties. The Form 1 selection is happening in 4 counties, that is Nandi, Uasin Gishu, Baringo and Trans Nzoia counties. But and as you know, the 100% transition issue also is being discussed in low tones, both by teachers and also by parents in education system. Most of people are really supporting, saying that, you know, Kenya, most of Kenyans, when a change comes, most people are always resisting. But as they go by, they are the one who will also again come and say it's really working and say it has good results at the end of the day. Some teachers whom we have interacted with, especially principals, that have said that on the issue where it's also said that principals are supposed to be having degrees or masters, they have said that they really support that, because at the end of the day, teachers are the one who's supposed to have more education than any other person in this country, because everything starts with the teachers, and they're the one given the mandate and the responsibility to ensure that all people in the country, wherever they are educated, and they remove illiteracy in them. And we are still following up on this issue, so we will come back to you once Bellion Kipsang, the PS for Education, comes here and starts talking. We will come back to you so that you can also listen in. And from here on, I'm also going to Uasin Gishu County Assembly. As you can remember, the Assembly passed a motion that also, if it will be implemented, and is that all supermarket owners, they will be forced to give free carriers to the shoppers who will be going to their supermarkets. Since the ban of plastic in this country, most of Kenyans, especially here in Uasin Gishu, have been seen carrying or buying their carriers when they go to shop in any supermarket. Something the county government has said it cannot be allowed, but they will be forced to ensure they give free carriers as they used to do earlier before. Anne?
Like that one, John, especially because I keep forgetting mine and I'm always buying a new one at the supermarket. That's a really good one. We want that to go national, John. We the mothers of Kenya. All right, thanks for reporting for us this morning. All right, we return to education matters this morning. I continue with my great panel. So Amos, I want you to kick us off. You've heard about the anticipation, you know, for this 100% transition, and earlier we were talking about and you argued that the categorization of schools is the challenge, because that also determines how resources are shared. And if you have 63% of the population going to these county, etc. schools, then that's where, you know, 63% of the resources arguably should be going. Yeah. But in our current scenario, and with, you know, January days away, is it possible for the ministry to rethink how these resources are being shared in order to ensure that there is the proper infrastructure and funding to ensure 100% transition that is not just about packing a classroom, but that equally ensures that learning is taking place?
Thank you, and definitely the answer is that there's very little that can be done between now and January, although there's also a lot that can be done. It's not very easy right now to reconfigure resources to ensure that you have an equity model where you allocate resources where they are needed most, and you reduce the resources. There's no, you're going to tell Alliance that now we are going to take away 20 of your teachers. They will even not accept. Tomorrow we'll have a lot of litigation, and Wakili Omar will be very happy because we'll have a lot of clients. But what we need to do, as he put it, we can progressively move towards it. What the ministry ought to be doing more is to talk more, give a sense of hope to especially the principals, because they're the ones who are going to bear the greatest brand of this challenge. You have got now children who have come to school, maybe capitation has not come on time. It's good that the ministry has committed itself that capitation will come on time. The other positive thing is that the ministry is going to use the unique number identifiers that were used by the KCP's candidates for it to track resources and just make sure that every child has got their own money. But also to tell heads that what we've done is not enough. There is room for us to do much more, so that people just feel confident that we are together with the government. Because there is nothing as powerful as a hopeful people that things are going to work and progressively work around the same. Because unless we are able to standardize, and I keep on insisting, unless we're able to standardize.
Could you talk about the county, I beg your pardon, the county government's role in terms of funding this? And of course there's the national government and CDF funding collaboration. But to what extent can counties step up and meet this need?
There is a lot that the county government can do. Unfortunately, what we lack is a coordination mechanism. So like an MCA doesn't know how much bursary was given by the MP, who doesn't know how much was given by the school and such. So in fact, when you look at the bursary system, why it hasn't worked, you'll get that the beneficiaries of the constituency are again the beneficiaries of the locational one, which are maybe beneficiaries of other scholarships. So what we needed to have is maybe like a central database, organized perhaps at the county level, so that there's a clear coordination mechanism for us to say that we have got 10,000 children who require support and where are they supposed to go, so that we're able to allocate resources fairly. But these units are working independently, so they don't speak to each other. So in the process, you have got a lot of pilferage and a lot of wastage that sometimes the real beneficiaries end up losing the whole space. So I don't want to get into the politics of how the county governments rejected the issue of coordination through whatever Governor Sang had proposed of the county development boards, whatever it is, any mechanism. But this is something that is possible. The county education board can actually coordinate this, because the county education boards are legal entities that have been set up according to the Basic Education Act. They can actually put together all these stakeholders, including those of us in the civil society and the business community. So that you're saying that a county like Kakamega, you have got 50,000 children who are supposed to attend school. How much money do we need to finance all these children? How much capitation have we received from the national government? How much can we as the county government give? How much can each of the 12 constituencies in Kakamega County give? How much can each of the 55 wards do what? Give. Then you pull all these resources together. And that way it's able to work very, very well.
I'm wondering on the approach, because you've talked about, counties taking the initiative, but that's almost like relying on goodwill. Would it better work with the ministry, just being the one to reach out county by county and saying, look, let's sit together and see?
What I'm saying is that you just need leadership. If you look at one of the reasons why some of the national government projects have been very, very successful is because of this unit that is chaired by Nzioka Waita in the office of the president, and bringing the Vision 2030 Secretariat under the presidency, so that it coordinates and overlooks at all the projects being implemented by the national government. So all that I'm saying is that wherever you decide to domicile it, whether it is through the ministry, whether you decide to domicile or even if you decide to domicile it in my home, it doesn't matter. The whole point is that we just need a coordination mechanism that ensures that these resources are organized in a better way, so that you don't have a lot of wastage that is going on. Because right now, as we speak, nobody knows how much money we are putting into the education sector.
I think that's a contradiction. Nobody knows how much money we're putting into education. I think we know how much money we're putting.
No, we don't know.
It has to be allocated.
Let me tell you, what you're talking about is what the government has put in. There is what households are spending. There is what the CDF are putting in. There is what the private sector is putting in. Nobody knows exactly how much money it is. We know government has given 359 billion. We don't know how much parents are going to pay in terms of fee. That's what I basically mean.
That's fair. You've clarified. But the point is this. Education is not a devolved function yet. Then in terms of coordination, there's what is called CIDPs, County Integrated Development Plans. Those are based on Vision 2030 and government plans. So our governors have a critical role to play, leadership role, to understand what those are, to understand what their distinct capabilities are in the counties, and then to use that to enable them to come up and show what they can do. The other problem with and I think our good friend Danson had mentioned that we should devolve education. I think that is a problem. We've seen what's happened with health, with the health sector. We need to bring the capacity of the counties up to speed and then entrust them with these things. Because what you'll have a Yahoo governor, and I say that with all due respect, who's going to decide no kids come to this national school unless they're from my county, which becomes also problematic because there is value in people moving around and getting to know other places. And I'll give you an example. There's a good friend of mine whose father sent him to Masailand to go to high school because he thought he was getting spoiled and so on. And he speaks Masai, and he has invested greatly in Masailand, building plots, rather building flats and so on and so forth. He would not have been able to do that had he remained in his hometown of Nyeri. So the point I'm trying to make is that we need to look at this, take a holistic approach. For example, if we want to standardize, let's say, what distinguishes a national school? If that is the parameter by which to measure, how many schools can we then bring into the standard of a national school? And we continue doing that until all schools reach that degree of standard. One of the things that the president was very smart in doing the other day, when he talked about inviting East Africans to come to Kenya, to buy farms, to get married and so on, is the issue of Ugandans. He followed up, by the way, by signing that marriage bill, which guys are all happy that they can now have polygamy and so on. Ugandans make good wives, we've heard, and they also make great teachers. I kind
of feel like this is a discussion about education, but go on.
It is. It's all part of education. Ugandans were very good teachers when they were here on exile many years ago. So in terms of filling the need, you've talked about the increasing number of students coming on board. Is the government going to manage? If we take this holistic approach and we start developing those standards so that, again, we are progressing, there'll be place to bring in teachers from neighboring countries. There'll be opportunity to bring in teachers from those who have graduated and are not working. You know, so it is possible to fix the education system.
Let me just, take this opportunity to say that since my show Opinion Court last night to this morning, Kenyan men are so excited at this prospect of imports from East Africa. Okay. Be that as it may, in fact, it's from all of Africa, isn't it?
Yeah,
right. Dunston having a big grin this morning. So,
Anne, my view is a bit different. My view is that as much as we try to legalize the education sector, the education sector in this country can only grow by us getting indigenous solutions, more discussions, more involvement of all stakeholders, and the reconstruction of government. When I talk about reconstruction of government, I'm not saying an overthrow of government, I'm not saying chasing the government, but government remodeling itself the way it does business. The Ministry of Education is only a subset of all other ministries and other departments in government. There's an animal called the bureaucracy. The procedures that must be followed before a decision is made. Government procedures are so rigid as compared to the private sector. When you look at the students, and this is, I'm coming down, let us look at the students who are being selected now. Very many of these students came from private primary schools. But the parent now wants to come at secondary level to a public school. What changes? And that is what the question everybody should be asking. Every parent at the lower levels wants to go to
private.
A few go to private secondary schools. The majority want
public.
All national schools are public. At the university level, also people are saying my child should go
to public
university.
Right.
But the career, this student has never been in any public learning institution from pre-unit. As I said, there is a serious question that we need to reconstruct and deconstruct the perceptions that were left with us by the colonialists. Just a minute. Just a minute.
Yeah.
When we look at the students who got 400 marks, the 9,000 students, how many came from private schools? it must be over 70 or 80%. All of them have landed in national schools. That is a question we need to ask ourselves. And two, my position is
But the
that
cost of private secondary schools could also be a huge
It could be high. Yeah.
it could be high.
Right.
But what is the question, really?
I think what Danson is saying, I think I have to give two rejoinders. Number one, I think when you talk about reconstruction of government, let's look at the case of the Minister of Education. There's been lots of reforms, same laws, same bureaucrats. Why is everything happening in the Ministry of Education? It's because of leadership. So I think I also don't want to buy into that 100% that we just need to reconstruct government. It's also the question of the people at the top, what they think. Number two, I think it's very, very serious when you take this approach of bashing the private sector. Because as I said, and this is the discussion we're having on hindsight, even before we started this discussion, is a very, very intense discussion of looking at what is the role of the private sector in public sector. Because unless we redefine this role, it becomes a big challenge. I think it's very, very wrong when we reach a place whereby a government that fails on its own responsibility. Take the case of Nairobi. Nairobi has got 200 public primary schools. What is the population of Nairobi during the day? 5 million people. At night, 4 million people. Nairobi has got more than 200,000 children who are eligible to join school. Can 200 schools accommodate them? It can't. So if the government does not construct schools, where will it construct schools right now? You go right now to Kibera, you want to construct schools. How many people will you have to move? It's impossible for you to move these people. So when you look at what the private sector are doing, they are only complementing what the government is unable to do. So I think it's not right that we sit here and bash the private sector, whereas they are doing a lot in terms of what the government is unable to do. So let me just finish my point. So
no, you got it wrong. I didn't bash the private sector.
When you talk about most of these children are coming from private school, it is not their mistake. Because we've been having this discussion 4 years ago.
Failure by government,
yes,
leads to these children going to private schools.
That's
what I'm saying.
Yes, yes.
Is that the only reason why people would?
It is failure because
it is failure if you can't provide quality, if you can't provide opportunities.
Whatever government is supposed to do, when it doesn't do it,
other people step in.
Other people do it.
Step in.
Yeah, but
at a very huge cost to a taxpayer.
Yeah.
Okay, but the point is this. You're forgetting one thing. One, you said kids are coming from private school into private school. I mean, rather, public. From private to public.
Yes.
We need to think about that.
Yes.
I don't see that there's anything to think about because they're, one, they're Kenyans. They're eligible to go to those schools.
It is school.
Regardless of where they came from.
Yeah.
Secondly, their parents have been paying out of pocket.
Yeah.
And there is no voucher or credit that is eligible to every Kenyan to those parents for paying for private school.
Yes.
So
and
why
still paying taxes in the public.
Or denied to enter public
schools, which you've been financing.
You're still getting it wrong. All I'm saying, why can't government assist that small village school, be similar with facilities, with everything, as that private school?
That's what you are saying. Standardization, yes.
So
standardization of our school.
Question.
Yeah.
The school upgrade system must be so massive so that we do not bother going to private schools. When I went to Japan, everybody fights to go to public schools because the standard of public school is higher.
One of the other things that I'd like considered, especially for those experts in education, is that children should also try to go, especially in the urban areas, to schools that are closest to their homes. That'll address issues of traffic, that'll address issues of standardization, so that you don't look at your neighborhood school as being poor and you're going 30 miles or 30 kilometers to take your child to
it just boils to what I'm talking about. Yeah. And where we are seated right now, Anne, we are next to St. George's Primary. Now, if you go to St. George's Primary, the children who attend that school don't come from Kilimani. For your information, in fact, when I visited St. George's 2 years ago, there was only one parent, one child from this locality who was attending that school. It's the same face when you go to State House Primary, which is just down here, when you go to Nairobi Primary, when you go to Kilimani, when you go to Milimani up here. Why isn't this working? So there is an oversupply of the public schools in some of these areas, and there is a complete undersupply of schools in the slum areas. If you go today to Olympic Primary today, the average number of children sitting in a room are 130.
Okay, that's our time on matters education, but thank you all so much for your contribution on that, and Amos Kaburu, an education expert who's been our technical person on the same. So we want to take you now live to Mombasa, where we're getting reaction from the National Nurses Association. Its chair, Alfred Obengo, is reacting to the killing of a doctor by a patient of a psychiatric clinic. You remember we highlighted this report for you yesterday. That happened in Nairobi. The man shot the doctor under unclear circumstances. Let's listen in.
Ya kupigwa bunduki na mgonjwa ambaye alikuwa anashughulikia. Tutasimama na hiyo familia ya mwenzetu, na tunasema ya kwamba na kinagaubaga kufika Jumatatu wiki ujao, kama hiyo hospitali itakuwa imefungwa, wauguzi wote hii Kenya watatoka sehemu zote, na sisi tutaenda kufunga hiyo hospitali sisi wenyewe. Yes. Tumesikizana namna hiyo? Yes. So tunaambia waziri wa afya afunge hospitali with immediate effect. And this is not a request. This is a demand. A command. A demand. Na ule director or whatever, manager wa hiyo hospitali awekwe ndani with immediate effect. Sisi kama wauguzi na kama National Nurses Association of Kenya tunaenda kotini wiki ujao kutafuta haki on behalf of our fallen colleague. Yes. Sawa sawa? Yes. Hayo tu, asanteni sana.
And so nurses, of course, raising their concern about, you know, their safety, especially in these psychiatric clinics, or, you know, clinics that deal with, you know, special cases, reacting to the killing of a doctor by a patient who, under unclear circumstances, was able to access this clinic with a firearm and shoot and kill a doctor. We're taking a short break on Citizen Extra. We're back with more news after.